Good evening, colleagues. Welcome to Temple Park for this meeting of the Borough Council. I am first required to inform you that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed for members of the public to watch from home. Welcome. As you are all aware, coronavirus restrictions that were due to be lifted on the 21st of June will not now end until the 19th of July, amid growing concerns at the spread of the Delta variant. This is why this meeting of the Council is again taking place in the main hall here at Temple Park Leisure Centre, instead of the Council Chamber. We must therefore continue to ensure that social distancing measures are still appropriately observed, and we must all comply with COVID-19 hands, space, face guidelines during this meeting. I would like to remind members and staff and members of the public that they must wear face coverings at all times unless they are exempt. Please follow the one-way systems to move around the hall if necessary. Toilet facilities are in the corridor just outside the main hall. If the fire alarm sounds, please leave the room via the emergency exit doors on my left and make your way to the main car park where staff will assist you. Any member who wishes to speak on any of the agenda items should use the microphones available to them. This is to ensure that everyone in the sports hall can hear you and that residents viewing the meeting via the live stream can hear everyone taking part. Members will note that each desk is equipped with an individual microphone and some simple instructions on how to operate it. To ensure the sound system is effective, members must switch on their microphones using the button when speaking. Ensure that they are close to the microphone when speaking and ensure that they speak directly into it. If a member or officer does speak during the course of this meeting, they are permitted to pull down their masks whilst speaking and return it after addressing the meeting. At the previous meeting of the Borough Council, we approved a new constitution and a new member code of conduct, which we should all observe. I would like to remind members that the code of conduct applies to this meeting and we should at all times demonstrate good conduct. We all have a collective responsibility to live up to the standards expected of us as councillors and community leaders. All of the procedures under the council procedure rules apply. These include waiting for me as chair to give permission to speak. The only exception to this, the requirement of a member to stand while speaking in order to assist with sound quality and audibility. May I ask that all members remain seated at all times during the course of this meeting. Given the size of the room and the social distancing measures that must be observed, I would ask members, staff, and members of the public to please try and limit disturbance wherever possible. Members should please mute their microphones to reduce feedback and background noise, which makes the meeting easier to follow. Please may I ask everyone to ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are on silent during this meeting. Members should indicate that they wish to speak by physically raising their hand and being invited to speak by me as the chair. When members do speak, and because of the size of the room, I would ask that all members identify themselves for the benefit of members of the public and press who are observing the meeting before speaking. Voting will be managed by the Head of Legal Services and Strategy and Democracy Officers minuting the meeting. If an item does not appear contentious, Members will be asked whether any member disagrees or wishes to abstain. If the situation where this is any dissenting voice, a vote will be taken. If an item requires a vote, the head of legal services will either ask for a show of hands or will read out the name of each member in turn. Sorry. Alphabetically, of course, and ask them how they wish to vote. Each member will need to unmute their microphone before speaking or keep their arms raised until the vote is concluded. Once a member has given the vote, then the microphone should be muted. The head of legal services will record the outcome of the voting and announce it at the meeting. I will now ask each member to confirm their attendance by undertaking a roll call and ask all participating members to please reply present. Councillor Amor.
Present, Chair.
Councillor Atkinson.
Present.
Councillor Bell.
Present, Chair.
Councillor Barclay. Present. Councillor Best.
Present.
Councillor Boyack, I have apologies for. Councillor Brady.
Yeah.
Councillor Bristow.
Present.
Councillor Dean. Councillor Dick. Councillor Dix.
Here.
Councillor Dixon. Councillor Donaldson. Councillor Duncan.
Present, Chair.
Councillor Ellison. Councillor Foreman. Councillor Flynn.
Present.
Councillor Foster.
Present.
Councillor Francis.
Present.
Councillor Gibson.
Present.
Councillor Hamilton.
Present.
Councillor Hetherington.
Present.
Councillor Huntley.
Present.
Councillor Keegan. Councillor Kennedy.
Present.
Councillor Kilgour.
Present.
Councillor Leask.
Present.
Councillor Malcolm. Councillor N.E. Maxwell. Councillor McCabe.
Present.
And Councillor N.E. Maxwell.
Present.
And Councillor N. Maxwell. Sorry. Councillor McHugh.
Present.
Councillor Melling.
Present.
Councillor J. Milburn.
Present. Present.
Councillor Peacock.
Present.
Councillor Porthouse.
Present.
Councillor Proudlock.
Present.
Councillor Punchin. Councillor Purvis.
Present.
Councillor Roberts,
Present.
Councillor Sewell. Councillor Smith.
Present.
Councillor Stonehouse.
Present.
Councillor Strike.
Present.
Councillor Taylor.
Present.
Councillor Thompson.
Present.
Councillor Traynor.
Present.
I have apologies from Councillor A. Walsh and Councillor M. Walsh. Councillor Welsh.
Present.
And Councillor West. Thank you. The first item of business is declarations of interest. Declarations have been received from Councillor Traynor. Councillor Traynor, would you please declare your interest?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to declare my interest as an employee of Tyneside Fire and Rescue Service in respect of item 6 on tonight's agenda. This relates to the council working in partnership with Tyneside Fire and Rescue Service and other agencies in the development of a strategic communications plan. I will therefore leave the meeting when this item is being discussed and will not take part in any vote specific to that item.
Thank you, Councillor Traynor. Does any member now wish to make a verbal declaration? Councillor Walsh.
Sorry, item 7 on the COVID. I'm a COVID marshal and I'm also a community champion. So if I'm needed to leave the room, then I will do so.
Thank you. Councillor Malcolm.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to declare my disposable pecuniary interest as Director and Chairman of South Tyneside Homes Board in respect of item 6, the Community Safety Partnership Plan. I've been granted dispensation by the Standards Committee on the 14th of September 2020, which allows me to stay in this meeting, participate in the discussions and participate in any vote taken on the matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Malcolm. Councillor McCabe.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Item 5, I have a prejudicial interest. I hold a dual Hackney private driving licence, taxi driving licence, and therefore that subject is prejudicial to me from a pecuniary position. Therefore, I will leave the building while the item is being discussed, and I will not participate or take part in any vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCabe. Councillor Taylor.
I am the Chair of Safeguarding and I'm also on South Tyneside board as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Dix. Can you put your microphone on, Councillor Dick? Thank you.
I'm also on the Tyneside Fire and Rescue Authority. And if I need be, I can go out when it comes up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Flynn.
Chair, I declare the same a member of Tyneside Fire Authority, but I wasn't sure if it was relevant.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Flynn. Is there anyone else? Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I am just stating that I'm also a member of the board of the South Tyneside Homes, just in case there's any kind of problem with that.
Thank you, Councillor Duncan.
Thank you.
Councillor Barclay.
Just to say that I'm chair of HealthNet and we get regular reports about COVID, so I'm not sure if it's an interest or not, but I'm just declaring it.
Thank you. Councillor Huntley.
Thanks, Chair. I declare an interest in item 9, petition number 1. I'm a signatory to that petition. Sorry, I'm a signatory to that petition. Petition number 1, item number 9.
Thank you. Councillor Walsh, do you have something else?
Apologies, I missed one out. I am a tenant board member of South Tyneside Homes.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Is there anyone else? Sorry, Councillor Best, I didn't see your hand.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a personal interest in item 6, pages 35 to 62, as a member of the Children and Adult Safeguarding Panel, and also a personal interest in agenda page 5, motion 2, as a member of staff in the Parliamentary Constituency Office for South Shields. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Best. Councillor Kilgour.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to declare an interest in item 9, petition 1, I will be presenting the petition, but I'm also a signatory and a supporter of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hetherington.
Thank you, Chair. Item number 6, I'm a member of the Children and Adult Safeguarding Panel and also lead member for Independence and Wellbeing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone I've missed? Sorry, Councillor Foster.
Yeah, I was unsure, but I also on item 9, there's 2 petitions which I'm directly involved with, in which to state I'm against the proposal of Moor Lane.
Thank you. That will be noted, Councillor Foster.
Okay.
Sorry, Councillor Keegan. It's very difficult to see people sitting up here.
I'm also on the panel of the Children and Adult Safeguarding.
Thank you, Councillor Keegan. Is there anyone else? I'm sorry, Councillor Walsh.
Apologies.
Did you have something else to say?
Yes, I'm on the Adults and Children Safeguarding Panel. It's just a new one for me, so sorry.
Okay, that will be noted. Thank you. Okay. If you have a disclosable pecuniary interest in any item which prevents you from participating in the debate and the voting, you will need to leave the hall during the discussions and the decisions of the item. Once the item has been considered, an officer will come to get you and bring you back into the meeting. The next item is the minutes of the annual meeting of the council held on the 18th of May 2021. Are they accepted as a true record?
Agreed.
We move on to the next item, item 3, Mayor's announcements. Excuse me. Members will be aware that John Robertson resigned as a councillor on the 9th of June 2021. Can I take this opportunity to wish John Robertson well for the future? As members will be aware, notice of the vacancy in the ward has been given several days ago. A notice of election was published today, Thursday, the 24th of June, confirming that the by-election in the Felgate and Hedwith ward will take place on the 29th of July 2021. The next business is to consider a report of the acting head of paid service to the amendment of membership of small number of council committees to the appoint representatives to serve on those committees as a consequence of the requirements to recalculating political proportionalities. I will ask Councillor Dixon to formally move the report. Councillor Dixon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Colleagues, following the resignation of former Councillor John Robertson as an elected member of the 9th of June 2021, the political balance of the council has changed, and a recalculation of the political balance is required to ensure that our communities are correctly constituted. Our committees are correctly constituted. Colleagues, the report explains the rationale as to how the council must allocate seats on committees so as to give effect to the political balance rules under the Local Government and Housing Act 1989. The outcome of the recalculated percentages and associated nominations are set out in the report. Colleagues will also note the recommendations in relation to the Pensions Committee and the Groundworks South Tyneside and Newcastle Board of Directors. I move the report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Is that seconded? Thank you. Are there any questions, or does any member wish to speak to the report? Councillor Francis.
Was really just a clarification. Just obviously, there's an amended version of this report that's been circulated this evening. Just to point out that there are a couple of changes there, which I don't know if other people have seen. The main one being I was previously edited out of history, but I've been added back in, or I was mislabeled anyway. But just to make sure people are aware, there's a revised version of the report.
Thank you, Councillor Francis. Is the report and recommendations 1 to 5 of the report agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. The next item of business to consider is a report of the Corporate Director of Business and Resources on the budget transfer 2021-22, pupil transport. I will ask Councillor Bell to formally move the report. Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is recognised in the Council's constitution that it may occasionally be necessary to move budgets from one service area to another to reflect changed service needs. This report requests the transfer of the pupil transport budget from the commissioning service to the Learning and Early Help SEND team. The movement of this budget recognises the close working relationship between pupil transport and the Special Educational Needs and Disabilities team. The budget to be transferred is £1.357 million. And as this is over £1 million, the transfer requires approval of full council. It is therefore recommended that the transfer of budget is agreed by full council. Thank you.
Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Are there any questions, or does any member wish to speak to the report? Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, it's just a question for a point of clarity for myself, if that's okay. It says this budget will be moved to the pupils transport scheme service. I just want to check whether that includes the transport budget for older young people who wouldn't normally be called pupils, who we provide transport for. So the age group of kind of 18 to 25. And as I say, it is just a point of clarity that I wanted to check.
Councillor Bell, would you like to respond to that?
Chair, I would have to check that because obviously this is just the pupil transport budget, but I will get a response to the elected member after this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is the... Sorry, Councillor Huntley, I didn't see. It's very
Thanks, Chair.
difficult.
Yes, it actually, for a point of clarity, it does go up to the age of 25. If a pupil has an educational healthcare plan, then they are covered under this pupil transport.
Thank you, Councillor Huntley. Councillor Francis.
Yeah, I think that the previous speaker might have answered my question in advance, but it was just, I'm aware that in the past there's been non-SEND children and young people that access that transport as well. So whether that's looked after children or young carers or people on the at-risk register, and just wondered whether they were included in this or would they be impacted at all?
Thanks, Councillor Francis. Is the report agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. The next item of business is to consider a report of the Corporate Director of Regeneration and Environment on the Making Communities Safer South Tyneside Community Safety Partnership Plan for 2021 to 2024. I will ask Councillor Gibson to formally move the report. Councillor Gibson.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. South Tyneside Community Safety Partnership Board fulfills the statutory duty under the Crime Disorder Act, ensuring a strong partnership approach and making our communities safer. Our Community Safety Partnership Plan has been developed using a broad range of data, intelligence and information from 2019 to 2021 from all partners, including Northumberland Police, Tyne Wear Fire and Rescue, the Probation Service, the Clinic and Commissioning Group, Foundation Trust, South Tyneside Home, and a range of council services. The plan also recognises the key priorities and identifies the Police and Crime Commissioner's crime plan. In response to a survey related to public opinion, the police and the council and our residents advised that the main priorities of policing, antisocial behaviour, where people were using drugs, using mini motos and scramblers and off-road bikes, and young people being rowdy and noisy, particularly where alcohol is concerned. All of the information has been consolidated in using a strategic assessment which has been established with 5 key priorities in the plan: reducing crime, addressing domestic and sexual abuse, putting victims first, dealing with antisocial behaviour, and delivering community confidence. The plan outlined our governance arrangements, including an establishment of multi-agency task group, which looks at emerging problems in problematic hotspots. The premises of individuals are developed targets and swift action plans to deal with these issues. Working in relationship to priorities, it also is scrutinised by the Council's Overview and Scrutiny Calling Committee annually. I would like to reassure members that the work is ongoing to address some concerns which has been raised in relation to crime, antisocial behaviour, which this includes we are including and promoting the way we report, including the use of Crime Stoppers, which allows anonymous information to be passed unaware of the caller, and this will be carried out through all our community area forums within the next few months. Developing a Say It Reported campaign This campaign is based on perception of crime, because we have a lack of people reporting crime, because a lot of people think, I'm not going to report it, doesn't matter, or I don't want to be involved. So statistics could be low in certain areas where this could be prioritised and a resolution could be reached and the matter could be resolved of antisocial behaviour in certain locations. A comprehensive review of the council's antisocial behaviour policy is underway. And we're having regular state walkabouts with myself and board members. This will be arranged in the next few weeks. Madam Mayor, before I ask the council to consider the contents of this report and approve it, I would like to formally record my thanks to all members of the Community Safety Partnership Board and their team for their commitment, ensuring the partnership has been able to come together as one to deliver a critical activities across our borough in response to the global pandemic. Madam Mayor, can I ask council to note the report and approve the Community Safety Partnership Plan for 2021 to 2024? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Are there any questions, or does any member wish to speak to the report? Councillor Stonehouse.
Madam Mayor, first of all, the council staff and the...
Can I just ask you, Councillor Stonehouse, to remove your mask when you're speaking, because we can't hear.
First of all, I would like to say on behalf of South Tyneside residents, our thanks to the cross-party partnership. However, there are just a few issues I would like to sort of discuss, mainly by my residents of Beacon and Bents. When I read the report here, 97% feel fairly safe in their neighbourhoods. Where was this surveyed, and can we have the actual number of the 97%?
Councillor Gibson, would you
Madam
like to
Mayor, I can respond to that. The survey of 97% of neighbours felt safer was taken from last year's Northumberland Police Insight Report.
Nice.
There is an understanding that statistics would be influenced by COVID, and the priorities were concerned by South Tyneside pre-pandemic. So it was last year's figures, but this year figures will be higher.
Thank you. And also, just comments from my residents. They miss community wardens. Now, I have a couple of instances here, no names, no addresses, just, you know, things that have happened within my constituency. Crimes have been reported to the police, such as music blaring in the early hours, the tenant sitting in a flat with the music on full blast, in a drug adult state. And basically, if the community wardens had been there, they would have, you know, pinpointed it a lot quicker. Now, another resident reported this and there was no comments whatsoever from the police. Obviously, I mean, you know, we are really, really grateful to the police and the cross-party, but there aren't enough to cover everything. And this is what worries me and my residents. A well-known area of the town is being blighted by antisocial crime. This was a very positive business area of the town. People are actually moving house as they're intimidated by rowdy behaviour. We have a group of various houses with people, and you know, their comments for all the police are at the particular areas of antisocial behaviour regularly. And, you know, nothing, we are letting our residents down. This is the problem I worry about. Before COVID, known drug suppliers were walking around a local school. Again, called the police. They came later, but they had already gone, which happens quite a lot. There's an ongoing issue with a quiet residential area that's being overtaken by drunk or drug-induced people who will cost residents asking for money and by intimidation. Now, this happens through the day as well as the evening. A resident stated, somebody has to be beaten up to get reaction from the council or the police. Now, this is what worries me. And obviously, they are not part of the 97% feeling safe in their neighbourhoods. So, the other thing is addressing domestic abuse and sexual violence, which I commend. There is a lot going on, but just bear in mind that men are also privy to violence as well, and they should be supported. Madam Mayor, we councillors made a promise to our residents with cross-party support to maintain a clean and safe environment for the people of South Tyneside. I need assurance that these things will improve in the next 4 years.
Thank you, Councillor Stonehouse. Councillor Gibson, would you like to respond?
Thanks, Councillor Stonehouse. Majority of what you have said is the norm on most of these estates within the borough. Yes, you're quite right. You know, things have, but we are addressing issues. When we come to your CAF, that is the time you can raise the issue. You can raise the issues at the overview and scrutiny, because we are doing a review of everything. And we will be addressing these issues to bring South Tyneside a safer place. As I mentioned in the report, say it, report it. People are saying it, but they're not reporting it. If they were reporting it, it would be on the hotspot. The other thing is we have Crime Stoppers, which is anonymous. I know people are frightened to phone the police, but it is anonymous, and you can ring Crime Stoppers, which has been rolled out through most community area forums. But if you look on page 3 of the report, you said about domestic abuse, the new domestic abuse bill 2021. This is coming into play this year as well. So, you know, you mentioned about domestic abuse. We are taking action on domestic abuse. It is being addressed, but all your concerns we will take on board. But thank you very much anyway. Thank you.
And can I just add that as well as with the domestic abuse, children are also in the forefront of this trauma. So they need to be supported also.
If you would like to send an email, I'd welcome it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Councillor Robertson. Roberts, sorry, I keep calling you Robertson. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Are you missing them already?
Yes, tremendously.
I gathered that. But thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, Madam Mayor, I would like to thank Councillor Welsh, Councillor Gibson, and also Andy Whittaker for coming out on Thursday to have a look at the antisocial behaviour round in my ward alone. I know it's not just the Bede ward where there's a lot of antisocial behaviour going on. I think it covers the full borough. But I'd ask Councillor Gibson 2 quick questions if I could. Could I ask him who runs the antisocial behaviour? And also when the last time the policy was updated, please?
The policy was last updated in 2016 and it's led by South Tyneside Homes, but the policy is governed by South Tyneside Council and South Tyneside Homes, which is the partnership approach. And as we are doing a review, we are all working together because the policy belongs to all of us to deliver this antisocial behaviour policy as we're coming to CAFs and we're coming to overview and scrutiny.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Right, on that note, the antisocial behaviour, as we know, has been going on for a lot of years and it's getting worse and worse and worse. If South Tyneside Homes are in charge of running the antisocial behaviour, does the buck stop at the director at South Tyneside Homes? And also, if it hasn't been updated since 2016, what has the director of South Tyneside Homes been doing for the last 5-6 years when he's getting £10,000 a year to not help the residents? It looks like he's just turned his back on the residents, not doing his job at all. And what I think myself, I think this council itself should both be looking at each other and bringing the antisocial behaviour team back into the house so they've got that answer to elected members. Because to me, you've got some great people working for for the antisocial behaviour, but you've also got some who just couldn't care less, just go through the run of the mill. They're not interested at all. They don't get back to you with some stuff. So I think it's about time that was sat up and stood up and all said that it's about time it was brought back into house. Thank you.
Councillor Gibson, would you like to respond?
Thanks, Councillor Roberts. All your views are taken on board and hopefully you will respond when we do the survey for the antisocial behaviour policy.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gibson.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, could I just show support for Councillor Stonehouse's concern on the lack of community wardens? I get a lot of queries on this, and I think this is something we should.
I'm sorry, Councillor Thompson, we can't hear what you're saying.
Sorry. Microphone is on, is that good?
That's better if you're closer to
I'll
the
start
microphone.
again. Could I just start by showing support for Councillor Stonehouse's concerns around the lack of community wardens? This is something I get a lot of queries on, and I think this is something we should look at again. But I'd like to speak on one of the tools we have for making our borough safer, which is CCTV. I think we all know CCTV is a contentious issue, how much we have and the balance we have to get right around privacy. But in South Tyneside, I'm concerned we simply do not have enough mobile CCTV units to respond to hotspot areas for ASB, fly tipping, motorbike nuisance and the like. Just today, as an example, I had an instance where a recently installed defibrillator in the Redhead Park, despite being behind a secure gate where access is only given by the emergency services, was apparently stolen. I had requested CCTV coverage for this unit, not only for that unit, but to deter other issues like ASB, which we have had instances of. But even for that life-saving service, it unfortunately wasn't enough to warrant CCTV coverage because of lack of those units and a long list of requests for them. I think this needs to be addressed. By the way, the good news is the defib is back. It was used by the emergency services. They were overloaded with priorities and didn't manage to inform us. But overall, I'm an optimist. Despite that, without CCTV as a deterrent, I think it's inevitable what will happen in the future here. Nobody wants CCTV, but we need it. And in South Tyneside, we need more. It's costly, but it's essential to maintain social order and standards on our streets. I would like it noted that the amount of mobile units we have available is reviewed with the aim of increasing the numbers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gibson, would you like to
Thanks,
respond?
Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I was aware of the defibrillator which had been taken, and Councillor Thompson's quite right, if CCTV had been in place, but it was a good news story about it. It saved somebody's life last night, so that was an excellent, and it was returned. But it has been on the agenda for a while, and I will take it up with the relevant authorities within the council.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Councillor Gibson. Councillor Best.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I have two questions, please. Anne Best from the Westall Ward. On page 3, in the item under dealing with antisocial behaviour, it states that 36 occasions where enforcement action has been taken. I just wondered if the lead member might be able to advise how that enforcement action level compares.
Sorry,
with-
Anna, can it hear
We
you?
can't hear you,
Oh,
Councillor
sorry.
Best. I'm sorry. Can you move forward to the mic?
Sorry, is that better? Sorry, I'll try again. Sorry, on the antisocial behavior, dealing with antisocial behaviour on page 3 of the report, the 36 occasions of enforcement action have been taken in terms of environmental crime, including dog fouling and fly tipping. I wondered if the lead member feels that we have sufficient resources in the borough to deal with the proportion of instances of this type of activity. In terms of, I know later in the report, it says that the partnership will direct resources towards the people and places that are causing greatest concern. And I'm sure that most elected members get a high level of reports of this type of environmental crime. And as I say, I just wondered how that level of enforcement action compares with other sub-regional authorities. You know, do other people in other areas report and enforce more than we do? And I do have another question after that, please.
Councillor Gibson, would you like to respond?
Councillor Best, I will come back to you with a written response, but within the past few weeks, we have made some prosecutions, but also we've made some confiscations of vehicles but I will come back with the relevant information for you.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Gibson, for the report. I appreciate all the hard work that's gone into it and the hard work of the Community Safety Partnership. However, as a councillor for Beacon and Bent's ward, I have to raise concerns, as did my ward colleague, Councillor Stonehouse, about the levels of antisocial behaviour in Beacon and Bent's. These levels are unsustainable, most of them coming from houses of multiple occupation and the private rented sector. We have reported them on numerous occasions to the police, myself, other councillors, residents. They are reported regularly, but quite often it appears that they're not taken seriously. I know Councillor Gibson said the Community Area Forum is the place to raise this, but it's already been raised at the Community Area Forum, and so far nothing has happened to improve. And antisocial behaviour in the ward really, really needs some tough measures to tackle it. I want to briefly talk about hate crime, and in particular disability hate crime. There is a young disabled couple living in Beacon and Bent's. I'm not going to name them, but they will know who they are when I speak about them. They live on a council estate, and I've been trying to get them rehoused for 4 weeks. The police have confirmed that they are victims of disability hate crime. Just today, the lady in that partnership has reported to me that she's been spat at, that her fence has been pulled off, the fence post has been pulled off, and they are using it as a battering ram to try and get into the house and break through the windows. They are being targeted purely because they are vulnerable, because they are disabled. Officers have been doing their best to help, but so far we have not managed to get them this urgent priority, not just the band one, but the extremely urgent priority that they need to be moved to a home that is suitable for their needs and also takes them away from the area where they are being targeted. But it isn't just them that's being targeted. This is a group of young people who are running riot on a council estate. Their parents are council house tenants, and something needs to be done to address this. And I'm concerned that hate crime and hate incidents don't actually make it into the list of priorities. And I'd like to ask that we consider including that in the list of priorities and consider making victims of hate crime a priority for rehousing. Antisocial behaviour is particularly difficult to tackle. The reduction in funding for Beacon and Bent's ward of about 40% makes it even harder for us to tackle. But it is something that we need to address, and we need to address now. Finally, for those who may not be aware of what White Ribbon Day is, I just want to point out that White Ribbon Day is about men standing up and speaking out against violence against women. And I am absolutely delighted that we've included in here to promote White Ribbon Day. But I would like to see the council go further and apply to become a White Ribbon accredited council. Our residents deserve that. It does take a long time to do, but you can't get there if you don't start. So going forward, I'd like to ask that we consider applying for White Ribbon accredited status. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Would you like to respond?
Thanks, Councillor Hamilton. If you'd like to send me an email later on, and I will address the issue tomorrow, and I will take it up with South Tyneside Homes directly.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson.
Thank you,
Mr. Mayor, can I just make a comment there? Just make a comment. Instead, what about the police? Can Councillor Gibson also contact the police as well? Because this seems to be a police issue as well.
I'm sure Councillor Gibson has taken that into...
You know, and what hasn't come
Councillor
out...
Malcolm, I will be taking it up with the relevant authorities. I will be taking it up.
That's fine. And what hasn't come out in this debate is how we're being let down by the police. How the police are not policing the community in the way which we want it. And that's where the debate needs to start.
Well, as Councillor Gibson pointed out, there is a review under construction, and he is working in partnership with our partners, and one of those are the police. So that those remarks, Councillor Malcolm, will be noted. Councillor Francis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I'd like to echo the remarks of a few colleagues with regard to community wardens, and I understand that that will have been a difficult decision that was taken a couple of years ago to stop using community wardens in the borough. But I think maybe that needs to be reviewed in terms of the cost implications of not having the community wardens and the implications in terms of public confidence and public safety. So I think a review into that and whether the outcome has actually led to some increased costs in some regard and an increased cost in terms of loss of public confidence. I think that should be looked at. And obviously you mentioned about the difference between reported crime and actual crime. And I think that's a key thing here, because to tackle crime, we need to know about it. And, you know, the figures in the report kind of look good on the surface, but we know as elected members that although it says that all crime categories are down over the period, we know that that isn't matched by the number of reports we get from residents as elected members, which has gone in the other direction. The police in some instances don't seem to be quite aware of the scale of the problem, and I think a lot of it does go unreported, and so the see it, report it thing is very welcome. I do have some concerns over how long it's taken to get that put together. I know there's a flyer. We had a meeting 2 months ago to request that flyer, and it's taken 2 months to come up with 2 sentences and 4 phone numbers, and that seems not quite right to me, especially when you've got residents reporting again and again and they're seeing no action. I think there's an urgent need to do a deep dive review of the antisocial behaviour policy and strategy at senior level, as has been discussed in the CAF meetings, and as you say, is going to go to overview and scrutiny, so that's very welcome. There was 4 very specific bits I just wanted to mention in the report. Page 36 mentions that at the end of Q3, South Tyneside had seen a reduction across all crime groups, but we see elsewhere in the report there are increases in violent crimes, sexual offences, domestic abuse and hate crime. And those increases should be a particular concern. And I know many residents will be alarmed by that and expect reassurance that those things are being tackled effectively. As Councillor Best mentioned, page 53 mentions 36 uses of enforcement action for environmental crime, so things like dog fouling and fly tipping. 36 uses of enforcement is less than 1 a week. And certainly when I looked into this last year in terms of fixed penalty notices for litter, it was a single-digit number across a year. And I think that people would expect a higher level of enforcement. And compared to a neighbouring authority, one of my residents lives in Beacon and Bents, but he works for another council, and he does this kind of community warden job. And he told me in his particular patch, just his spot of the council, of his council, he gives out about 6 a week. And so definitely, I think we need to look at the level of enforcement. And anecdotally, I've heard reports from some residents that they're frustrated that they see people getting a fine for their dog being off a lead in a cemetery. But when they see a group of people openly taking illegal substances in that same cemetery and harassing residents and leaving detritus behind and needles and all that, that seems to go unchallenged and there's no enforcement takes place. And that some consistency there, and it definitely needs to be looked at across the enforcement. Page 51 talks about what has been achieved, but some of those things, when you look at the list of bullet points, some of those are the tools rather than the results. They're kind of the means rather than the end, if you see what I mean. And so I would strongly advise measuring in terms of the actual outcomes for residents rather than an action that's been taken, if that makes sense. And on a similar note, page 61, the bullet points under delivering community confidence, I've got some concerns about how measurable some of those things are. And so I think clarity is needed on what done looks like, so you can say whether those things were achieved or not at the end of it. And finally, just to pick up on the question that Councillor Stone has asked about the 97% and where that figure comes from. I understand the source of it you mentioned, but we don't have any clarity so far on the number of respondents that covers, as opposed to a percentage.
I can come back with that in written response.
Just in closing, I think it's definitely a hugely important bit of work. We know it has a massive impact on all of our residents, both in terms of what they actually experience, but also in terms of their perception and how safe they feel. But many people in my particular ward in Beacon and Bents wouldn't quite recognise the report compared with their actual lived experience as residents.
Thank you, Councillor Francis. Councillor Gibson's going to give you a written response, I heard him say.
Can I just thank Councillor Francis for highlighting those as other members have as well. Everybody's views been taken on board. We will take action. At the moment, we're on discussion with many, as you had mentioned, dog fouling and other things which is happening within the borough, and it is on the discussion table.
Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Sorry, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a comment, really. I think Councillor Gibson's already touched upon it, and obviously there's a lot of this element which relates to ward issues. And Councillor Gibson's already highlighted that the intention is to go around every ward, along with Councillor Welsh, who is the Police and Crime Panel representative, to get first-hand experience from elected members and residents, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Councillor McCabe.
I think we need to get things into perspective here. You know, 10 years under a Conservative government where 20,000 police officers have been taken out of the equation is a massive, massive reason why there's been this upsurge in crime and antisocial behaviour. You know, you don't just replace 20,000 educated, trained officers like that. And I think that, you know, the police deserve the backing, because it's not just the responsibility of the police service to uphold community safety and look after the community and look after the residents. It's everyone's responsibility. And I think that message needs to be put out there loud and clear. You know, let's take, you know, our onus and our share and our responsibility. At the end of the day, Councillor Gibson nailed it to the cross there when he said, you know, public response is very, very limited. Without the intelligence coming from the public, without that knowledge and without the experience, and there's at least two ex-officers in this room at the moment who know what I'm talking about, where you have a collator who collates that information and takes that action to destroy and arrest and put away those people who are the perpetrators. You know, let's get real. It's not a solution overnight. It's a responsibility of everyone to help everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCabe. Councillor Best, did you have something else to say?
I beg your pardon, Madam Mayor. I did say I had another question. I just wasn't quick enough to ask it. On page 47, if I could ask the lead member, it says that through closer working arrangements, improved community engagement and effective use of current and relevant information. And then it mentions that we engage with, or rather the plan is to engage with the community in two different ways, which we currently have, which is ourselves as elected members who act as community champions, but also the community area forums. I just wondered if what those new improved community engagement methods would be, if you have any examples or any, you know, different kinds of methods of doing that. Thank you, Chair.
And ask the councillor what aspect of the community area forums.
Sorry, if in the report, it actually says that the two methods that are specifically mentioned as currently being used to engage with the community are via ourselves as community leaders and also through the community area forums. But earlier in the paragraph above, it says that there will be closer working arrangements, improved community engagement. I just wondered what the improvements would be. Thank you.
The closer community engagement will be that all community area forums will be involved in some aspect of the antisocial behaviour policy and putting forward police and crime plans in the future. Because when you attend the police and crime panel, they ask what's happening in your area. And we go and tell them antisocial behaviour. People are complaining that the police are not responding. We're complaining that things aren't getting done, but things are getting done. But then we get, as Councillor McCabe said, 20,000 officers down. You know, things are running short under a Tory government. And it's about time, you know, it is our borough. And we've all got to chip in as councillors, make our communities a better place. And as I said before, we have Crime Stoppers who should be reporting. We've got the other one, sorry, tongue-tied here, See It, Report It, which is coming out, which is going to be a tool within the community. So we are engaging, but there is going to be different engagement roles, because I know the police are talking about having community groups again, probably in the line of Neighbourhood Watch or some other format.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Councillor
Madam
Gibson.
Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the report agreed? Sorry. Sorry, Councillor Foster.
I just want to say it's a fact that police numbers have dropped, but we have got a more efficient police service now. And at least we're on the right curve now with increased police numbers. But I just want to emphasise what's been said tonight, the importance of our residents reporting antisocial behaviour, crime of any sort is so important. So the police have the information so they can target areas, target offenders. So it really is, we need to lose this thing where it's not worth reporting and encourage our residents to report it. And hopefully in due course, these issues will be addressed.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to come back to Councillor McCabe there. Councillor McCabe, as you said, well, the residents have got to do their bit by reporting things. I can tell you from first hand that the residents have told the police on a number of occasions what's going on, and the police don't take any notice at all on a lot of occasions. So yes, I do agree that they've got to do it, but unfortunately they've been doing it around where I live for a long, long time, and nothing happens, mate. It's the police and the antisocial behaviour that's going on. So the antisocial behaviour team and the police need to work together. And when you keep saying about the Conservative cuts, every time we come here, all this Labour Council does is say Conservative cuts, Conservative cuts. It's cuts all over the place. Every part of the country is being cut down, but they've managed to do it. So it's no good blaming Conservatives all the time, and I'm not a Conservative, far from it. But you cannot keep blaming Conservative cuts all the time for the lack of police doing their duty and the antisocial behaviour team not doing their jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Atkinson.
Thank you. I think we've just heard from a former police officer how the police are doing a fantastic job despite those losses of numbers. So I think we know we support the police. We just need to fine tune, and I'm sure Councillor Gibson will work very closely with the police to do that. I know he's really passionate about it. I would just quickly like to say as well, this afternoon I opened up an email from Northumbria Police. I'm on their, I guess, on their circular round robin, and it was a survey on where would if I would like to see CTV, how I felt about it, and if I did want to see more CCTV run by the police, where 3 locations, parks, shops, near bus, terminals, etc. Where would I choose to have them? And ask to give them the first part of my. So if anybody tunes into the Northumbria Police website or whatever and wants to fill that in, I think the police are already looking at more.
I think every councillor got that email, Councillor Atkinson. So it'd be good if people responded to it. Is the report agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. The next item of business is to consider a report of the Director of Public Health on the latest position with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. I will ask Councillor Hetherington to formally move the report. Councillor Hetherington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Anne Hetherington, Lead Member for Independence and Wellbeing. Oops, sorry. Colleagues and members of the public, you will know the North East and South Tyneside faces increasing numbers of coronavirus infections, largely driven by the variant of concern named Delta. The spread of the Delta variant has led the government to delaying England's move to step 4 of the roadmap, which means we must continue to live with restrictions until at least the 19th of July. In South Tyneside, there were 203 confirmed COVID-19 cases reported between the 12th and 18th of June. This equates to 135 per 100,000 population, and it's an increase of 118 reported during the previous week. Just incidentally, the national average at the moment is 65. This rapid increase follows a period of relatively low numbers since the beginning of April, and the Delta variant has been shown to be significantly more transmissible and has led to rapidly increasing cases, in the main isolated to younger unvaccinated populations. Although the number of cases is increasing, thankfully at this time we are not seeing the impact on hospital or adult social care pressures. But we will, of course, keep this under close review with our partners. The very detailed paper presented to you today highlights the ongoing partnership work led by South Tyneside Council in response to the unprecedented global pandemic, working closely with other local authorities, the NHS, our schools, businesses, and our fantastic third sector. We have a comprehensive range of services, including 3 symptomatic testing sites at Temple Park, Tutorreed, and in Jarrow, and asymptomatic testing in schools, businesses, and the wider community. We have enhanced local testing and tracing, working in conjunction with the NHS Test and Trace Service. Business support and community support led by our environmental team. A wide-ranging vaccine programme with additional targeted activity with communities most at risk. We have an ongoing communications and marketing promotion. We have COVID champions working in our communities, working hand in glove with local community support to improve the vaccination take-up. COVID champions have been drawn from a wide range of sections of the community and members of the business community. And members may also have seen some of the recent videos which have been posted on the South Tyneside Council website, supported by our business community. The paper also details the quick responsive action made by our very positive alliancing work with the third sector to take action in specific wards where the vaccine take-up was quite low for certain sections of our community. I would like to take the opportunity to thank all key workers and voluntary groups in South Tyneside who have kept our society going over the most challenging 18 months in our history, and to officers of our public health team and teams within South Tyneside Council for their excellent response at this very difficult time. I would also like to thank members of the public for doing their bit to beat COVID and helping their families and communities remain safe as possible. We still have a role to play to bring down the rate of new infections and prevent new variants of COVID emerging. So please, can I urge everyone to take up the offer of a vaccine and keep acting in line with the public health guidance as it changes to meet the circumstances. And together we will beat COVID. Madam Mayor and colleagues, I commend this report to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hetherington. Is that seconded? Are there any questions, or does any member wish to speak to the report? Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hetherington, for a very informative report. I've just got a couple of questions. We know that across the country, certain groups of disabled people, particularly those with learning disabilities and with certain mental health issues, the take-up of vaccines is particularly low amongst those groups. And I was wondering if we're doing anything in particular to get messages out to those groups. And particularly, have we got methods of getting information out in alternative formats? So, for example, easy read, audio, so podcasts, that type of thing for people who have specific disabilities. I'd be interested to know a little bit more about the Community Champions grants. I may have been sent information on it and missed it. If I have, I apologise, just so that I can possibly share it with some of the groups that I know that might be interested. I also think we need to be working with disabled people's groups. Another thing that I'm interested in is the future of community champions. I think it's a really good model that's been set up, and hopefully at some point in the not too distant future, we won't need as many messages to be going out about COVID. But there are other public health messages that we need to get out at various different times. And I wondered if those community champions and the networks created would still be available to be used in the future to get out those messages. And finally, I just want to say that even if the restrictions are lifted on the 21st of July, as we all hope there will be, that doesn't mean we will all go back to the previous normal. there will have to be different ways of working. Employers will have to have COVID secure workplaces. We'll still have to have some sort of, not restrictions as such in place, but guidance about what makes us safe and what prevents the risk. And I think it's important that we let people know that even when all the restrictions are removed, they do still need to be aware that COVID won't have gone away completely, and there will still be people out there who are vulnerable to it. And we need to consider that probably for a long time into the future when we're all out and about and working with various different groups and individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton. Councillor Hetherington, would you like to respond?
Thank you. Yes, and thanks for those questions, Councillor Hamilton. And if I miss anything, please do remind me. I was trying to make some notes as you were speaking. On the COVID champions, yes, I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with you that they are an excellent resource. And I did get the opportunity to actually go out with the COVID champions myself yesterday. And they do a magnificent job. We do have representatives across, I think, just about every section of our community. I can get you those details if you would like it. I do have them here in front of me, and I don't want to actually read through them, but we do have COVID champions for the disability community, in sensory, in refugees, etc. But that information is there for you. In terms of the COVID champions themselves, I have already taken up in my discussions with officers how I would like to see this work extended, post-pandemic, because I do think it is a valuable asset, because we do need to get down underneath some of the health inequalities that we have currently right across the board. And I'm asking for statistics to be given at ward level so that members can actually see what is happening across their wards. On the grant scheme, I am involved with Inspire and some officers looking at the grant applications. There is a leaflet being prepared and issued to go out to all sections of the community with information, because the grant take-up has been quite low, I have to say, quite disappointingly. I thought it might have been better. So we will be encouraging more people to take that up. And I can tell elected members that there are presentations being given at each CAF. And I think for our Riverside CAF councillor, it is being presented on the 6th of July. So all elected members should get that. But I'm happy for anyone to email me, and I can pass that information on to Charlotte Harrison, the representative from Inspire, if you have any organisations who would like to apply for these micro grants. I think, did I cover everything, Councillor?
Thank you, Councillor Hetherington.
Okay, thank you.
Is the report noted?
Noted, Chair.
Noted, Chair.
Thank you. The next business is to receive questions under Procedure Rule 8. No questions have been received under this rule. The next item of business is to deal with petitions received under the Council Procedure Rule 9. 3 petitions have been received under this rule. I will explain the procedure to follow for each petition. We will not debate the petition today. After the petition has been presented in accordance with the process set out in the Constitution, I will move that each petition be referred to the appropriate body. Petition 1, Councillor Kilgour, I understand. Will you present this petition to full council? Please read the wording of the petition and announce the number of signatories.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The lead petitioner for this petition is a Mr. Ray.
I'm sorry, Councillor Kilgour, we cannot hear you.
Okay. Is that better, Madam Mayor? Okay, thank you. The lead petitioner for this petition is a Mr. Ray, and we're very grateful to him for collating this. This petition is to seek a safe pedestrian crossing between Hedwith and Felgate, across Durham Drive leading to St Joseph's Way, and between Durham Drive leading to Cornhill. The petition has 80 total signatories, with 57 signatories from within the borough. In accordance with the standing orders, I propose that the petition stands referred to the Head of Infrastructure and Transport as the appropriate officer for further consideration, please, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kilgour. In accordance with the standing orders, I propose that the petition stands referred to the Head of Infrastructure and Transport as the appropriate officer for further consideration. Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Petition 2 to urge South Tyneside Council to scrap plans for the one-way system on Moor Lane. The petition has 64 total signatories, and all 64 signatories are from within the borough. In accordance with the standing orders, I propose that the petition stands referred to the Head of Infrastructure and Transport as the appropriate officer for further consideration. Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. Petition 3 to stop the proposed changes to the road layout of Moor Lane. The petition has 184 total signatories and 58 signatories from within the borough. In accordance with the standing orders, I propose that the petition stands referred to the Head of Infrastructure and Transport as the appropriate officer for further consideration. Is that seconded? Is that agreed?
Agree.
Thank you. The next business is to receive a motion under Procedure Rule 10. Two motions are to be considered under this rule today. I will explain the procedure for the motion. I will ask the proposer of each motion to move the motion. He or she may speak up to 5 minutes. I will then ask whether the motion is seconded. The seconder may speak for up to 3 minutes or reserve the right to speak later in the debate. The motion will then be open to debate by members who may speak for up to 3 minutes and may move amendments. Motion 1 has been submitted by Councillors Atkinson, Bell, Donaldson, Foreman and Traynor. Councillor Donaldson, please present the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sustainable future funding for local welfare assistance. The Council notes that until 2013, emergency financial assistance was principally provided by central government through the discretionary social fund. From 2013, the government implemented wholesale reform of this fund. Some parts were kept, however. The government abolished crisis loans other than alignment payments and community care grants. Responsibility for emergency financial assistance was developed to the local level and funding transferred to local authorities in England on a non-ring-fenced basis with the intention that they establish their own LWA schemes, local welfare assistance schemes, to support local people facing a crisis. The government then decided that from 2015-16 onwards, there'd be no separate LWA funding stream. Instead, it would become part of the General Revenue Support Grant the central government provides to councils to support their spending on any local services. In the intervening years, with reduced overall funding for councils, a lack of guidance from central government and the absence of a statutory requirement for local authorities to deliver the emergency financial assistance, local authorities face difficult decisions about funding and maintaining these schemes. In many areas, local welfare provision was either significantly reduced or closed completely. In 2021, in response to significant levels of need during the COVID-19 pandemic, Government provided additional funding to local authorities to deliver emergency financial assistance. £63 million was provided through the Local Authority Emergency Assistance Grant for food and essential items, whilst a further £170 million was provided through the COVID Winter Support Scheme. This council believes that as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and its economic impacts, we can expect there to be a significant ongoing need for emergency financial assistance, with many families in this country at some time facing a financial crisis point, a financial problem which puts the immediate health and well-being of family members at risk. If properly resourced, local authorities are uniquely placed to support residents facing crisis, with LWA schemes central to that support. Local schemes can be underpinned by the existing knowledge that councillors have of need in the communities, alongside the relationships they hold with local voluntary and community sector partners. Whilst local authorities have other mechanisms such as discretionary housing payments and local council tax support schemes to support low-income households, COVID-19 has demonstrated how important it is for councils to have the capacity to deliver timely and discretionary emergency support to households, people reaching crisis point. Central government should therefore provide sustainable long-term funding for local welfare assistance to give councils the confidence and certainty that they need to develop an effective local welfare offer. This council, South Tyneside, therefore resolves to establish and maintain a local welfare assistance scheme to support residents facing financial crisis, to campaign for a new funding allocation for councils from central government to provide local welfare assistance schemes to be made available in the next comprehensive spending review and protected in real terms over the following years. The council resolves as well to write to the Chancellor, the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government and Secretary of State for Work and Pensions to request they make such a funding allocation available to local authorities. I can tell members that several societies are also backing this. The Children's Society has suggested that the government allocate £250 million. This is supported by the Trussell Trust, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, and I believe 4 or 5 others. I commend this to the council and ask them to support this motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Donaldson. Is the motion seconded? Councillor Foreman.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I would like to second the motion and I'll reserve my right to speak if required.
Right, the motion is now open to debate by members. Do any members wish to ask questions, speak or move an amendment? No? Is the motion agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. Motion 2 has been submitted by Councillor Hetherington, Ellison, Walsh, Dick and Porthouse. Councillor Hetherington, please present the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Anne Hetherington. Madam Mayor, elected member colleagues, I'm here today to ask for your support for this motion to lobby the government for the funding required to support the genuine committed reform of adult social care. Thomas Jefferson and later Mahatma Gandhi said that the measure of a society is how it treats its most vulnerable. And never was there a time in our history when those words rang more true. In South Tyneside in 2021, we received 54,323 contacts and had 3,426 new referrals. We support in residential and home care 2,358 people. With a gross budget spend of £90.1 million, this is the largest proportion of the council's spend, and 3% of this year's council tax rise was needed to support the funding of social care. Nationally, 1 million people with care needs receive no support, but in South Tyneside, we pride ourselves on providing support to everyone in need, even though our budgets have been under significant pressure. Adult social care is a positive force in our lives and our communities, and adequately funded, it can play a huge role in our post-pandemic recovery. It's extremely frustrating to me, and I'm sure you, that in the Queen's speech, the opportunity to reform and review adult social care funding to make it a service fit for the 21st century to deliver on a fairer society was ignored. Despite social care being vital to so many people, successive governments have failed to tackle the underlying systemic problems, particularly exposed through the pandemic. We don't need further legislation, it's already in place. However, throughout the pandemic, we saw social care still not funded and not treated equally, and frontline workers being undervalued and underpaid. The pandemic seemed to reinforce the belief that social care is predominantly about older people, but it's not. A significant number of care users are working age adults with disabilities. And neither is it all about care homes, when many more people receive care in their own homes. The foundations of the care system have been weakened by severe financial cuts to local authority budgets, and we have a welfare state in the 2020s built on a life expectancy of the 1940s. When the NHS was created, life expectancy was much lower, and now people with disabilities are living longer, and 1 in 4 of our babies born today will live to be 100. Aging and all it implies isn't just going to affect someone else, it will affect us all. We need the 1948 moment, which inspired the creation of the NHS to secure the future of adult social care, to support people to live fuller, more independent lives, and immediate action is needed if we are to build back better post-pandemic. With person-centered care that puts people in control of their lives, to support them to live the lives they want to lead in their own homes and communities. Social care is an inherent local service, with councils playing a valuable leadership role. Although the opportunity was missed in this year's Queen's speech, it's not too late to act, and we call on the government to act now, to value our elderly and disabled people and show them the respect that they deserve for the contribution they have made and can still make to our society to make it richer and more diversely equal. Therefore, colleagues, I'm asking for your support to ask the leader of the council to write to the Prime Minister to urge him to act now, to acknowledge the intrinsic value that properly funded social care has to our communities and people, to urgently appoint a cabinet minister with responsibility for social care, which must stand alone from the current arrangements for health and social care, and to irrevocably embed social care funding within the core funding principles to meet the needs of the 21st century, to reduce the ever-increasing financial burden which is being placed on council taxpayers, and to seek the support of our 2 MPs for this council's resolution. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I commend this motion to colleagues and hope for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hetherington. Is the motion seconded? Councillor Ellison?
Madam Mayor, I second the motion. I reserve the right to speak.
Thank you very much. The motion is now open to debate by members. Do any members wish to ask any questions or speak or move an amendment? Councillor Hamilton?
Sorry, it's me again. A small question for point of clarification, and then with hopefully the consent of the mover, I'd like to suggest a very tiny friendly amendment. I don't recognise the term local authorities and place, and just wondered if somebody could explain to me what that and place bit means. And the very friendly small friendly amendment I would like to suggest is that where we've got seek the support of the 2 MPs in support of this council resolution, just to add at the end and ask them to raise it in Parliament at the earliest possible opportunity, because that way it'll get a much higher profile nationally as that's all televised. So I just think that would help us push the agenda forward with this.
Councillor Hetherington, would you like
thank
to
you.
respond?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, and Councillor Hamilton. I do apologise if the term place is not familiar to elected members. It is something that is currently in the local reform, in the national reforms of healthcare, and it refers to place-based care, which actually refers to local authority and place being where we live. So if that helps with the clarification. And yes, I'm happy to accept my colleagues' amendment to the wording that our MPs raise this in Parliament. Thank you.
Is the amendment seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. Is the motion agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. That concludes the business of the council. Can I please ask that everyone in the public gallery and all councillors please remain seated. Strategy and Democracy officers will call out rows to leave one at a time in order to coordinate a safe departure. Can I thank everyone for their attendance this evening and thank those that are watching at home. Thank you. Safe journey home.